Miller, Patrick,
Or we
and
just
Sue.
don't do it.
And then
Tomorrow.
oh wait, we're on a break, right?
Yeah.
Admit everybody,
Nicole, you ready?
proceed with recording.
Recording in progress.
I'll make a motion that we return to open session.
I'll step down as chair and second that. All those in favor?
Aye.
We've already had the Pledge of Allegiance and we started our meeting.
Taylor.
Do you guys have to start yours?
We don't have a quorum.
You don't have a quorum?
We're here to get formed.
That's it.
We'll meet again.
Okay. We're going to please stand for a moment of silence. We had 3 people that we lost this week, or within the last couple of weeks. Elizabeth Rose, Betty Taragas, and Alice, a legend, Alice Souza. Thank you.
I'm just going to read a little bit about Alice. Alice Souza, age 95 of Dighton. She passed away peacefully on June 25th, 2025 at her daughter's home in North Dayton, surrounded by her loving family. She was the beloved wife of the late George Souza. She was born and raised in Dayton. She was the daughter of the late Eugene and Mary Mello Perry, a proud graduate of Dayton High School, class of 1948. Alice was a lifelong and devoted member of the St. Nicholas of Myra Church, where she served as a minister, participated in the prayer shawl ministry, and was honored with the Marion Medal for her dedication in faith. Alice served the town of Dayton for an extraordinary 53 years. She began her career in 1969 as a teacher's aide and became the director of the Council on Aging in 1979, a position she held until her retirement in 2022. In 1994, she founded Primetime, which I didn't know she founded.
I didn't know
Primetime.
either.
That's amazing. An adult daycare program that went on to serve as a model throughout Massachusetts. A passionate community advocate, Alice served as a commissioner on the Dayton Housing Authority and was an active in numerous town committees, including the Board of Health's Handicap and Disaster Preparedness Committee and the Parish Nurse Committee for the former St. Joseph's and St. Peter's Church. She also helped coordinate Dayton's shared program and represented the town on the GATRA Advisory Board. When Alice had any free time, which it sounds like she didn't, she loved lighthouses, beach days, and working with her hands, especially knitting, sewing, and crocheting. We thank Alice for all her time and everything she did for the town.
Absolutely. Like I said, she was a legend. I didn't know she started Primetime. That's awesome.
No, I didn't know that either.
All right, great. Thank you for reading that. Let's move on to scheduled appointments at 6 o'clock, which is now almost 7 o'clock. The Board of Selectmen Finance Committee joint meeting for end-of-year transfers. Sure.
So since the finance committee doesn't have a quorum today, they're gonna try to meet next week about it. But since the selectmen are here, I figured I'd present it on this end.
Sure.
So this request comes from the town historian, and that is budget number 690. So in FY '25, they had requested $400 for a project that they had planned. And then through the budgeting process, we reduced it to $250. And then they felt they weren't able to do anything for their planned project with that $250, and they haven't spent any of it, so it is still available. So they are requesting for that $250 to be transferred to the Tricentennial 250th Anniversary Committee, to that fund.
Yeah, you're just looking for a motion from us?
Um,
Or do we not have to motion, they'll do it at their meeting?
No, so I do need it from both. Yep.
Okay.
So if you guys do agree to the transfer, to have a motion and a vote.
Okay, is
for
it
that
okay if I do it
transfer.
before you go through all of them? Do
I
each one?
actually just have this one
Oh,
this
okay.
year, yeah.
I
That's
don't-
it?
I don't know why I thought.
Last year I had a bunch more, yeah.
I'll make a motion to transfer the $250 to the what was it?
Tricentennial.
250
50th.
committee.
I'll sit down as chair in second. All those in favor? Aye. Okay.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
And then Peter, I'm just gonna leave this for you to sign.
Sure. I'll just sign it now and you can have it.
And then I'll have it for the finance committee next week.
Yeah. It's today the 9th. Thank you. You're welcome. That's it, guys. Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Have a good night. Thank you. Taylor Perez. Hi. Director of Housing for Serpent, Housing Production Plan.
Yeah. You guys mind if I just do the introduction? And Taylor's on Zoom. She's not feeling
Oh,
so
okay.
hot.
Hi, Taylor.
We all both really want to be here for you guys tonight. So, yeah. So, just thanks to the Board of Selectmen for having us. And
Sure.
We're here to talk about the housing production plan. So, yeah, my name is Robert Cabral. I'm joined by Taylor Perez and Aubrey Hose. So we just wanted to talk about this plan. And so far, some of you folks may have seen us. I know, Mr. Karen, we saw you. I can't remember if it was the Cow Chip, but we've also met the Strawberry Festival.
Right.
So we did some tabling early on, and we've also released a survey. So that's some of the work that's been done to date. But we also wanted to introduce the project overall to anyone maybe watching on television. Or,
Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah. So I'll kind of start with like just the introduction of what it is and Taylor's going to dive into some of the early data collection we've done as part of the project, and also the survey results that we've had so far. But that survey is still open if anybody wants to take it. So what is a housing production plan in short? It's a proactive strategy to plan for affordable housing in a community, in municipalities such as Dayton. HPP contains 3 statutory components. So these are things we have to do as part of the plan. We're required to do them. The first you see on that screen there is a needs assessment. What is that? It identifies kind of the limits and constraints on housing in Dayton. The second part is a goal. So that's sort of I'd say the big picture. It represents a community's aspirations, what you'd like to see happen to sort of adapt or address some of the things in that needs assessment. And the third are strategies. So I would kind of say those are how do you achieve those goals? Like maybe the goal is the bolds, and then the strategy is a subheader under that. And so that's, in essence, what a housing production plan is and what it's comprised of. And how do we get through all that is through talking to folks at some of the tabling we've been doing, doing the survey and trying to hear back from folks. And so.
What kind of response have you got? Not to interrupt you, I'm sorry.
No. Yeah, thank you. We've heard some interesting some thoughts from people throughout town. So, when you have a one-on-one conversation, you might hear some issues that person may have faced individually. So you have a little long-form conversation. I would say the survey results have been a little mixed, and we'll dive into those in a minute. And,
okay.
But some of the individual conversations, one of the things that I would say came up is there are. It seems like there are a handful of folks. I don't want to overrepresent it, but folks that maybe want to subdivide some of their land sometimes. We heard from a couple people who maybe, I'd like my son to be able to live on this property. I own a lot of property. Is there a way to make that possible? And, the typical zoning tool would be decreasing the lot size or allowing certain subdivisions.
Right.
Or, of course, there's accessory dwelling units that every community in Massachusetts is grappling with what that looks like and how to fit it within the state's requirements there. So there are probably a few ways to address that. But that's a big one we've heard, is that folks maybe would love to have an opportunity, especially as housing costs go up across the Commonwealth, to be able to take care of their family.
I think most people feel that way.
Yeah, absolutely. And then there's particular, and then it is worth mentioning too, and we've talked about it, but that one of the main components of the housing production plan is discussing the 40B process. So, we know that not everybody always likes to talk about that, but that is, the part of the plan where you gain control over how that process takes place, but it does require you to proactively discuss, namely, sites where the town would be thinking about where future 40Bs could go. So the idea is, in the big picture, is you look at where the town is proactively planning for that housing, and then it gives you the Commonwealth gives the town more control over how to kind of enact their plan. So it's like you pick the sites. You kind of meet these sort of minimum thresholds of housing production during the life cycle of the plan, and then that's when people use that phrase, safe harbor, where that comes into play, is that you've now described how you want that process to go, and the Commonwealth is giving you kind of the discretion to take a stronger role in the 40B process.
Sure.
So in a nutshell, those are kind of the components of housing that we could talk about. And these other things where we do hear from people, that's the one part that's required. What we try to do at SERPED, I think, is meet communities where they're at, because if we're writing this plan already, if there's sort of issues to be addressed and things that people really want to see in town, this is a good vehicle to incorporate some of that. But we really only want to do it if it's what people in town really want to see. It's a plan for this town. So we know it's sort of a challenging subject matter for some people, and some folks may have concerns and stuff, and we want to hear them. But ultimately, what goes in this plan is hopefully, in our goal 100% is to have it be a reflection of the
what
values
the town
of
wants.
Yeah, exactly.
Needs. Okay.
Yeah, and I think that reflects a lot of why the town has reached out to us to pursue this. So just a really quick rundown of these data sources, just to be transparent about what they are. Most of them are just publicly available data sources. I can't quite read this up, but it's like the American Community Survey, HUD data, and we do purchase data. The one exception is we purchase data from the Warren Group, which is a private data set. It gives us kind of a closer look into like real estate and financial trends in each town. So it's transaction data from home purchases, how much people are spending when they're transacting.
So that's how it's driven.
Yeah. It helps us understand some of those trends in each town. But with that, I'm going to hand it over to Taylor who's on the screen there, and hope she's feeling well enough to get through this. But if not, I can try to pick it up too, to look at some of that data that we pulled and then the survey.
For sure. Thanks, Rob. Can you folks hear me okay?
Yes, thank you.
Awesome. And thank you again to the Board of Selectmen for having us and for a virtual option. If you if you can't tell, I am getting over a cold virus weird thing, and this is just, I want to be considerate of other folks, so I appreciate it. I'm going to go through just a couple high-level data points from the needs assessment. I just want to give the caveat that it will definitely be more in-depth when you read the draft narrative of the plan, and as we continue to talk about goals and strategies, as Rob alluded to earlier. These are just some of the kind of the key takeaways that we wanted to just present here tonight. So beginning with population, and again, please let me know if you'd like me to zoom in at any point. I know I have a bit of a wide monitor. Dayton has been growing, so I'm sure you folks are very aware of that. Population growth over the past 2 decades has been very substantial, over 14% between 2000 to 2010 and 2010 to 2020, which is higher than both the county and population growth. So again, notable growth occurring in town. And again, getting some other demographics, looking at resident age and just general age trends. Dayton is on par with other communities in southeastern Mass, other communities in Massachusetts, and nationally with aging residents. That's just again a common trend we're seeing. So if you look here at this yellow proportion, we're seeing 16% folks age 60 plus in town in 2000, increasing to 24% in 2021. And corresponding with that, a median age increase of 38 years to 42 years, again, on par with what we're seeing elsewhere. But notable when thinking about what might be appropriate in town. Looking here at median household income, Dayton's household income has nearly doubled from 2000 to 2022, looking at almost 59,000 in 2000 to almost 117,000 in 2022. Again, notably higher than both the county and the state. And then looking here at housing cost burden, just for some context, housing cost burden is one of the most common metrics that look at affordability in a community, and it looks at whether or not a household is paying 30% or more of their annual household income on housing-related costs, so mortgage and rent and utilities. And so in Dayton, 25% of owners and 5% of renters are considered cost burden. And there is a breakdown here. There's a category for severely cost burdened, which is paying more than 50%. So for owners, that's 11% paying more than 30% and 14% paying more than 50%. And again, like I said, this is just one of many metrics that we use to look at affordability. Like Rob said, we've had real estate transaction data and all sorts of other things to measure it, but this is probably one of the most common metrics that you'll hear about.
That's a huge increase. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, so getting out to housing stuff, looking at what types of housing is in town, majority is single-family detached housing, so that's about 83%, and the remaining 12% is split across a couple, of different types, 2-family, 3 to 4 family, attached townhouse style housing, mobile homes, and then some larger 5 to 9 unit developments. And then the last data point from the needs assessment that we're pulling here is the residential tax rates. Again, correct us if we're wrong. It's currently $12.56 per $1,000 of valuation, which is higher than maybe Rehoboth and Swansea, or Rehoboth and Taunton, but a little bit lower than Swansea. I do recall when we were looking at the data that had gone down over the past couple of years, we don't correct us if we're wrong there, but again, I know it's a topic of conversation and wanted to address it. Then getting into the survey results that Rob was alluding to earlier, again, we kind of got some high-level takeaways here, but there are plenty more questions on the survey that we're happy to share with you folks. We just wanted to kind of hit the main ones. So just some quick demographics on respondents. Almost 70% of respondents have lived in Dayton for over 10 years. And again, just to pause, this is at about 170 responses. So again, really, really good response rate for a kind of topic-specific survey like this. Looking at survey respondent age is spread across several different age brackets. And then getting into some kind of more specific questions about housing perceptions. This first one on price, how important do you feel it is for Dayton to have many different housing options at different price points? Respondents have mixed opinions, so you can see a small cohort here who feel it's very important. And then we're getting into some folks who feel neutral or that it's unimportant. And then looking at, again, similar housing perceptions, do you feel that this housing stock is currently meeting its community's needs? Nearly 60% of respondents said yes, which is a great metric. That's really good to hear. And then there is a smaller cohort of just over 20% who said no. And now we're getting into some more specific types of housing. So this one's on senior housing. Do you feel there are enough senior housing options in town? Respondents were somewhat split, so about 40% said yes, 34% said no, and then about 25% weren't sure. Similar trends here. Do you feel there are enough housing options for veterans in town? Again, a similar split, 35% saying yes, 30% saying no, and 35% who weren't sure. And then the final housing specific or a specific style of housing question that we have here. Do you feel there are enough housing options for younger residents, recent grads, and individuals living alone? This one a little bit different than the previous ones. Nearly 60% of respondents said yes, they do believe that there are enough housing types for these populations. And then about 26% said no. And then again, a smaller cohort of about 10% who weren't sure. And then getting into pricing perceptions, this is our last of the survey results that we're summarizing here tonight. Are you concerned that you or someone you know will not be able to live in Dayton now or in the future? Almost equally split, just under 50% yes and no, with a slightly larger percentage saying no, they're not concerned. And then again, a smaller percentage of folks who weren't sure. But again, kind of getting back to the theme here that there definitely seems to be mixed opinions in town. And we want to kind of dive into the survey results a bit further, just to think about how we can start to strategize on a plan for you folks, and then again, just hear from you folks as elected officials and stakeholders as to what we might also be looking at to again make some decisions on that. So I'm going to kick it back to Rob. Rob, please let me know if I need to zoom in, just to talk a little bit about updates and next steps, and we're happy to talk further about the results, questions, etc.
No, cool, thank you. Yeah, I think I mentioned this, actually the top part of this, if I remember early on. We attended those two events, and as we opened up to questions, something to maybe think through is, are there any other events where you'd like Serped staff to attend to get some community feedback? We're open to and happy to keep going out meeting the community where we're at.
As far as town events, the only other thing I can think of would be an election that would bring out as few as 300 to as many as 800 to 1,000 people, depending upon what was on the docket. But as far as events like the Cow Chip and the Strawberry Festival, I don't see any, unless you do, Nicole, that I can't think of.
I think they already attend annually. I think I've seen you guys at the Lions Art Festival. It's at Aruna Farms, I think, and that's in the fall. You guys generally already come to that, and that does have a pretty good outcome as well.
We could work the HPP into
Right.
that if you think it's a good suggestion. It sounds
How many
good to me.
people, excuse me, I'm sorry, how many people you think you talked to get this?
I would say at the Cow Chip, I think we didn't want to talk to people who were enjoying time with their family, but I'd say a
Right.
handful, and then, somewhere between 10, 15, 20 folks maybe
Yep.
at the at the Strawberry Festival.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how many took the online survey?
Taylor, do you know how many took the online survey?
170.
That's a good percentage of the town.
Okay.
Yeah.
Through the chair, just something for Rob and Taylor to think about.
Yeah.
As we go through the agenda, there is a facilities request on August 3rd I know it's for the Taunton football and cheer, but it'll be out here and they anticipate 500 people.
Do they really? Wow.
Yeah,
I saw that coming up.
Yeah, it's
but,
a big show. I don't know what the mix of people who will be there, Taunton residents, Dayton residents, but something, if you contact our office, we'll give you that.
Great.
We'll give you that information. But it's they anticipate it to be
500 attendees.
right, big turnout.
Yep.
So something to keep in mind.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that sounds great. So yeah, that those suggestions sound awesome to us, and yeah, we want to keep coming out and talking to people and hearing their perspective on this.
Sure.
So thank you for that. And then, kind of parallel to that effort, if you think of the three required sections here, we ran through a little bit of the needs assessment part. That's what that data sort of represents, is like that description. So, you know, of course, in the report, there'll be narrative alongside just the charts. But as we think about moving into the next step of the plan, alongside this, you know, we'll be thinking about the goals and strategies and what we can derive from the needs assessment and the survey. And you can see, you know, we might need, as Taylor said, might need to dive into that survey a little more. I don't think in my time, not that I've done a million of them, but I've done a few. This is the most kind of like mixed split survey, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know, Taylor. I don't think that's ever happened before. So it's a little hard to glean. You know, we don't want to look at the survey and draw our own conclusions. If I look at it objectively, a lot of yeses, a lot of nos on those questions. I don't know.
Yeah, I would definitely tend to agree with that. I mean, there's some clear things that came out from the open responses, and that's, I think, where we would want to dive in a bit further. You get a lot of concern about tax burden, and definitely some desire for senior housing. Again, I think we can discuss the split on folks who either felt yes or no or weren't sure about senior housing. That definitely came through in the survey results. But we want to spend some more time with the open responses, because that's usually where kind of the meat of the subject area is. But yeah, I mean, definitely the split opinions, and we will always do our best to, again, like Rob said earlier, meet you folks where you're at and produce a plan that everyone can get behind. So I think there'll be a lot of further coordination with you folks, with other stakeholders, et cetera, particularly as we get into the plan writing and structure of it.
Yeah, and sort of, I'm kind of wading into this whole thing, but if anyone has any questions, you know, anyone watching or whatever, we're happy to answer any while we're here.
Sure. Well, nobody's here. Online, is there any questions? I don't know who's online. I can't even see it.
Yeah,
Sue. Okay.
I have a question. So, walk me through the process of creating this plan. You mentioned 40B. Is this only in regards to 40B housing, or is it also, I don't know what you call it, housing, regular housing?
Totally. I completely understand the question. And Taylor, please feel free to dive in and answer any part of this if I'm misrepresenting it or missing something. But I would say the statutory element relates to 40B, because when we talk about a plan, does it have like teeth? Is there a regulatory mechanism involved with the plan? That part does relate to the 40B, where the town gains some control over that process. And so discussing the 40B process in a proactive manner in the plan gives the town that control. I guess if you think about the town gets the control, but the deal is you discuss how you would look at 40B, where you think you're planning for where it might go in town if one were to come up, if someone were to propose one. So that's the give and take, if you will. I think from the regulatory perspective is we get this control over where we would like to see it in town, and the state grants that control to the municipality. But the municipality does need to proactively plan where this could take place if a 40B proposal were to come to the town.
Again, not to interrupt. I'm
No, go
sorry. I keep doing that.
It's what we're here for.
What kind of control does the town gain?
You could reject the 40B if you're meeting the requirements for safe harbor, which
Which
is
is-
having the plan and meeting
Right.
a certain percentage of housing production.
Do you know what our housing percentage is right now, by any chance?
Do you know the SHI off the top of your head, Taylor? I didn't even look at it. I apologize before coming here.
No, that's all right.
I
I
definitely should
I can
have.
find it pretty quickly. I can do that in the background while we're doing this. And just to add to Rob's point about some more, not to get too into the nitty-gritty, but the actual requirements are, you know, again, there's a couple things to address in the plan, like Rob said, which is citing potential housing permitted through comprehensive permits under 40B. And we try and like remind towns too that no one is going to come and bang on your door and be like, did you build housing on that site that you selected? It's just again to get communities thinking about, you know, where could it go if it does come in, and you know, again, it's being proactive, and it's just it's a requirement that every community has to meet in their plan, so it's not unique. And again, like we always try and be considerate, and it's not like you have to pick some huge site if you didn't want to. I think the state usually just wants to see folks thinking about it. And so we're always kind of in the mediating role there, figuring out what will work for you folks, if you want to discuss it or not. And just again to note, like, for a housing production plan, that's the statutory requirement to be approved by the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities. But, and that's again, if you want the regulatory teeth that come along with it. But if you just want a housing plan too, like, again, we want to meet communities where they're at, and if it's not something you want to discuss and you want to keep it something that's just as a guiding document for the town, that's also fine with us. We just want to make it very clear that there are regulatory benefits behind, meeting the statutory requirements and the regulations associated with it.
Right.
And then just again, to get to some of those thresholds, it's, I believe, 0.5% production for, I think it's either 1 or 2 years, don't quote me, I don't, I'm blanking on it. It's 1 or 2 years of safe harbor, and then 1% or more, I believe, is 2 or 3. Again, it's one of those two numbers for each bracket, but just again, to give you folks some insight as to what we're alluding to when we're saying, having some control over the 40B process. It's that ability to deny in that given year set of rules associated with your production.
Yeah, and if I may too, just to add a little fidelity to what we mean when we say control versus just denying them, from the purpose of the plan, if you look at it, if you just reject the 40Bs for 3 years or 5 years, then you're just back kind of where you started, where someone could propose one and then you don't have the safe harbor anymore.
Right.
So the idea is picking the locations is guiding the 40B process, where if someone's not following the desires the town outlined in this plan, then you reject it or push them towards the thing that the town is proactively planning for. Mm-hmm. So that's in the theoretical land where, like, that's how it should work. If you put the two pieces together, you can reject, outline a spot where it could go. It's to have that control and guide it towards proactive planning for the 40B, for a comprehensive permit.
Just wanted to clarify, I did look up your current subsidized housing inventory is 5.05%.
It's what?
5.05.
5.05.
So of course the 10% number is the number we're looking at.
Through the chair, if I could add comment.
Sure.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Just as you know, I have quite a bit of experience with the housing production plan, having been a planner, and I think it's an extremely useful tool. It helps it'll help the planning board, it will help the economic development committee, and it will help the developers, because they'll understand what the town is looking for. Oftentimes, developers come in and they say, well, what does the town want? And I know you've probably heard that before. The housing production plan provides those guidelines to developers. And also, and I do not want to minimize its usefulness as a regulatory tool and its certification by the state. What it does, it gives control to the town over what 40B development is, when it's certified and it's active, what 40B development will come into the town. And that is extremely helpful in dealing with developers, because unscrupulous developers, and I hate to be this way, like towns without housing production plans. The good developers, developers who understand the 40B process, who that's their livelihood, they have a whole team behind it, they do a good development, they like towns with housing production plans, because they know what the town wants, they know the housing type the town wants, so it is, again, it's an extremely important planning tool for everyone, for regular developers, for 40B, for the people in the town, because ultimately, you're looking at development that's, as I said, respectful, right? Respectful to the town, respectful to the neighbors of that development, and respectful to the people who will eventually live in those developments. So I've always, I'm a strong proponent of housing production plans, and I think, and I'm glad to see we have a good response, and Serpent is doing very good job in reaching out. So.
And then just to finish up and bring it full circle to what Taylor was alluding to is if it becomes, sort of stressful or ultimately unpalatable to talk about the 40B process, we can still complete this plan, and it's sort of just a guiding document for the town to address housing. When we say we're open-minded, we really just want to provide the town with a document that's useful to the town, but it will lose sort of the teeth that we've just been talking about here. So it's like, we just try to keep all the options open. We want this to be a helpful plan ultimately. We want to be available to talk to people, and we want to make sure it really reflects what the town wants. We wouldn't want to do this if it's something that causes too much heartburn or is not reflective of the town's priorities.
Right. Have you gotten that kind of response from anyone?
We have, I don't know, Taylor, I'm trying to go back in the memory banks here. We've had towns that have pushed the limits of selecting 40B sites, and we're amenable. We've submitted the plans to the Commonwealth, and they do not get approved. They say, you pick a site, then we'll approve it. And so then I think in the instance I'm thinking of, we went back and we had the town pick a site, and then it got approved ultimately. Do you have any recollection, Taylor, of any similar experiences?
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. I think, being frank, that's probably the hardest part of the plan. I think usually when we talk about the goals and strategies, that comes really naturally from conversations like this with boards and elected officials and with residents, stakeholders, et cetera. And from survey results, again, like there's usually a pretty clear path forward as to the different types of things we might want to suggest in the plan. But when it comes to the actual picking of sites and whatnot, it can get, like Rob was saying, a little contentious, or folks might have different ideas about a site or whatnot. So it's not unfamiliar to us that this process can be hard to navigate. And again, I think just like Rob said, we just want to make sure that you folks know your options, and we're always here to help make selections. Again, we don't want to speak for you folks as to what you think is appropriate or not.
And it just dawned on me, I only answered half of your question, which is why we do want to be upfront about the 40. We don't want it to get to the end and be like, by the way, 40B, because that's not what we're here to do. We're here to be upfront about all of it. You asked about the other parts that are not related to that. They're not really statutorily required. We're talking about affordable housing. But because we know a lot of communities in southeastern Mass have a unique set of challenges, some are more rural communities like this, we just try to make ourselves available to talk about a range of strategies that are not necessarily required, but may reflect sort of the local values of a community and things they want to talk about. So we provide a more expansive plan than is required, but the other parts aren't necessarily. Most people want to include those things because, again, it's a chance to express the town's needs or desires or things that could be done a little differently in town. So it's a place to catch all of it, to have it in the plan, but those parts are not necessarily required.
I have one question about the survey to ask you if it's accurate. The median income, is really that high? 100 and...
That is what, let me go back to it. That is what we found.
116,000?
Is it 5-year ACS, Taylor?
American Community Survey, yes. That's usually where we look. I am happy, myself and Aubrey, who I know is there in person, will certainly double check it just to make sure it is certainly high. A lot of communities in southeastern Massachusetts are usually more affluent than the county and the state is kind of what we see. But again, happy to double check it and ensure if the figure changes, we will certainly let you know.
Sure, thank you.
And I'd say it's worth mentioning if we're going to dive into the thing. It's a sample, so it's not the full census, so there's a margin of error. So it could have, it's possible it could have fallen on the high end of the margin of error, for example. And in reality, if you were to ask every person in town, it'd be a bit. That stuff happens, but it represents a decent range, and we'll double check the number.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Nicole, do you have any questions so far? No. All right.
I'm sorry, again, through the chair. Sue Gustafson, I think, would like to ask a
Hi.
question. Thank you.
How are you?
I'm very good. I'm just listening in to see what's going on with this whole plan. And I just would like to see more of respondents with the survey. It's kind of 107 people out of the town. It's kind of a slim number.
Yes,
to
it
me,
is.
anyways. And I'm not sure where these incomes are being gathered from, if it's a state, database from the state, or is it, information from individual, respondents?
So I can answer both of those. The income data is from the national census, or
Okay.
yeah, so it's not the census. I shouldn't say that because with ACS data, essentially like Rob said, they do surveying of different communities, and they aggregate that survey data over 5 years to get a slightly better, margin of error so that it's a little bit more accurate. But again, it relies on survey data, so getting in touch with folks and actually being able to make, do that survey is a whole other process. But again, we're happy to look at this, especially if this is seems outlandish. We always want to double check our data. So I've already written that down to flag it to the and again, we'll definitely share with you folks if it changes. This presentation will also be publicly available, and so if anything changes, then we'll be sure to asterisk it with the date change. So please feel free to check back on it.
Sure. And one other question. I'm sorry, I apologize. I'm just wondering, based on our community of residents, especially since our population is more senior and, is that part of what you would have in this housing plan as well, to look at the dynamics of our community versus other communities outside of Dayton?
Sure, yeah. We do look at comparable communities often, and we've kind of have some here that we alluded to with the residential tax rates, looking at neighbors and whatnot. And getting into what Rob was saying earlier, we do try and address things that might be outside of the standard scope of what the regulations require for a housing production plan. The things like, non-affordable and non-subsidized housing, so looking at market rate things for seniors is a big thing that we do. It could be looking at adult retirement community bylaws if you folks don't have them. It could be looking at programs to help seniors age in place, get accessibility modifications in their home if they need it. All sorts of a range of options. And again, if this is a big issue and kind of something we definitely want to explore further with you folks. But absolutely, yes, it is something that we will look at in the plan and address.
And I think that one more just comment is that our taxes seem to be, if you look at our area, seem to be high in comparison to other comparable communities. And I know that's a struggle for our town to find that happy medium of the costs that we're up against. So just wondering how this housing plan will actually impact all the services that are required in order to support this housing plan, if we come up with something. Is that considered as part of the process?
Yeah, so one of the, again, if we go further back up, and again, Rob, please jump in at any point, I don't mean to monopolize. One of the things that is required in the plan, and it's kind of, nested in this housing needs assessment, is an identification of development constraints. And so that looks at things like infrastructure and whatnot. And so one of the first things I'm sure we'll identify is that infrastructure is a concern in town. And we certainly heard about that on the survey. We heard about high tax rates. Of the folks who were concerned about housing affordability, that was probably the number one thing that folks cited. So looking at ways to reduce residential tax burden, of course, is something that we'll explore. And then, we will definitely talk about infrastructure. Again, it's required for us to consider things like that. We can talk about limitations, places that, we might need to dovetail a little bit outside of the scope of the plan and talk about, what you mentioned in your master plan or your previous housing production plan about that, and just be candid about the limitations and things that might need to be considered when thinking about housing production generally.
We just want the community to be able to support the plan. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. And actually, a little bit of a non sequitur, but it jogged my memory to your question about themes we heard talking to people. One that just struck me is, again, I don't know how it relates necessarily to the survey, but in person talking to folks, people, it felt maybe we're pretty open to the idea of building smaller homes in Dayton. So some people thought some of the houses being built were very large, and smaller single-family homes. It did seem to be people were interested in that in person as a possibility in town.
You had something about the, I thought I marked it. The housing type.
Yeah, the breakdown.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, 12.3 of the housing, percent of the housing has 2 or more units. That's counting all of the, we don't have many duplexes, if any, well, a couple of them, but that's counting all the apartments and,
My guess is that, being totally candid, is through our conversations, I've talked to some people who wish there was less red tape around duplexes, but I've also talked to many people who were very concerned about the idea of duplexes. So we could
Okay.
explore that further, but if I'm being candid about the feedback we've heard, I would describe it as mixed to concerned.
okay.
Would you agree, Taylor?
Yeah, genuinely, yeah.
Well, I was, excuse me.
Yeah,
I
please.
was under the opinion that we didn't allow duplexes in Dayton, only 2 families. Is that a true or false statement?
No, that's true.
Oh,
As far as a 40B can present them, and it's up to the zoning board of appeals to approve them or not, but typically we don't have, I think there's only 3 that I know of. 2 of them are 40B and 1 was approved before the housing zoning changed back in the 60s.
okay, thank you.
Okay. Anything else you want to add?
That's all we got.
Ralph, anything else?
No, sir.
No? Nicole? No. You're all set? All right.
you.
Thank you very much for your
Thank you
time.
for your time. We appreciate it.
Yeah, likewise. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Taylor.
Thank you, great job.
Okay, selectmen's reports. Are there, announcements, I'm sorry.
I have some announcements on important road work, Important Street, Oak Street, Maple Street, and Maple Swamp Road. The week of July 21st, weather permitting, there'll be the first treatment of preservation and renewing treatment. August 4th through August 29th, the weather permitting, there'll be a second treatment, same roads, crack filling, leveling, and hot patch. The Dayton's Lion Club Food Bank will be held next on Saturday, July 19th. This is at Town Hall on the lower level. There'll be a blood drive Saturday, August 2nd from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Old Town Hall. This is sponsored by the Dayton Board of Health and the Dayton Police Department. You can make an appointment at redcrossblood.org. On August 2nd and 3rd, the Pam Mass Challenge. Community will come together for all corners of the world with one mission to raise funds for cancer research and treatment. So remember, the roads will be busy.
Absolutely. Okay. Do you have a selectmen's report?
I do
yourself?
not.
Okay, neither do I. So we'll go right into the town administrator's report.
Thank you. Just to go back a little bit to the road work, we have it on Facebook, on our website, and we'll be putting out a press release so everybody understands what's going on, so no
Yep.
one should be.
Are
no
they
one should
closing
be
the roads for that,
unaware
or
of
they
it.
just?
They're going to close it, as Tom explained, for a short while. They're going to put down the treatment. It's some amount of time. They're going to let it, so it's the pink, and then once it turns colors, they could open the road up.
Okay.
Again. So
Wow. Thank you.
again, the financial team is continuing to meet. A few things to be aware of. Again, over the next 3 selectmen's meeting on July 23rd, we're going to be to help us in the budgeting process and get direction. We're going to be discussing the enterprise fund for sanitation. Missy Holabrook will be here to help us with that and discuss the process. We're also going to be bringing up the debt exclusion and a capital exclusion as a tool on how we deal with capital projects and needs. August 13th we'll talk about service and personnel reductions, what that might mean as a budget balancing tool. And on August 28th, I hopefully will have a frank discussion on what direction should we go in? Should we have a combination of everything we discussed on, and how do we move forward with our budget? I'll also be presenting beginning July 23rd my one-page budget sheet and sort of predictions of where we're at. Just so you know, the cherry sheet came out of conference committee, which is usually pretty much as close as it's going to be before the governor signs it, and there's not much difference. Not much difference. I think the overall thing, which I saw, it's $10,000 less than what the Senate, and the Senate had the most. Actually, it's a few dollars more than what the governor had proposed. The House of Representatives brought it down, Senate brought it up, conference committee, it's $10,000. So it's pretty much on target as what we were anticipating, which is good. We hope that it would have been a little more. But in terms of a little more, we received a letter in the file from Senator Dooner that DR received some additional funds in Chapter 70 money, $60,000, $30,000 for Dayton, 30,000 for Rehoboth. I haven't gotten the numbers yet from DR what that translates to our what our assessment is. And then, in addition to that, we had a brief conversation with Caitlin that how we want to introduce policy and personnel procedures, and we're going to be getting information from her. We're going to be putting together a committee, and at some point in the future, presenting that to the selectmen.
The 60,000 giving back to the school, it's going to be 30-30? Or is it because of the high school? Is it there?
Well,
is there
I know the number was 60, and she, and in her letter she identifies Dayton 30. So
okay.
So
Yep. And what was the second thing the last thing you just said?
the cherry sheet of the personnel policy.
Personnel policy. We have one now.
We don't have a complete one. We just have
Just policies out there.
Policies. So
Yep.
it's important that we have a set of policies dedicated to personnel. It's been identified as something we should do, and it was recently identified in I'll tell you one second, the financial management review that DLS did, that we should have policies and procedures.
Okay.
And it's helpful, for those employees who are not under contract, and I think, for something we had discussed earlier, it's good to have that so we could refer to it and so everybody knows what's going on.
Right. Okay. Nicole, do you have anything you want to?
No.
Add? Okay, very good. That's it, Ralph?
That's it, yeah.
Thank you. Okay, on to old business, and there's none. So public input at this time, is there any? Nobody's here. Anybody outside?
I'm all set.
Okay, thank you, Sue. All right, we'll move on. We'll move on to new business. This is going to be review, discuss, and act, authorization to allow town administrator to sign contract with Reworld Waste LLC.
I presented the numbers at the last meeting.
Right.
The contract had come in, so this is
it here.
sort of giving me the authority to sign it and move forward.
Yeah, I have no issues with that.
I'll make a motion to authorize to allow the town administrator to sign the contract with Reworld Waste LLC.
I'll step down as chair in a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Again, a review, discuss, and act facilities request for the car show, Taunton Youth Football.
Did they submit everything that they needed to submit?
Yes, they did. Yeah.
I'll make a motion to accept the facilities request for the car show, Taunton Youth Football.
I'll step down as chair in second. All those in favor? Aye. Southeastern Regional Service Group award paper contract with WB Mason. Again, this is a review, discuss, and act. I see it here.
Just a little background on this. There was some confusion. Sausage went out, and they had got a contract with another company. Unfortunately, there was some confusion in the boxes. Spruce had very good pricing, but they were basing their pricing on a 5-ream carton as opposed to a 10-ream carton. We went back, and they went back and realized it wasn't apples to apples, and as a result, W. Mason continues to have the better paper pricing.
Okay.
So,
I'll make a motion that we accept the award paper contract for WB Mason.
I'll step down as chair in second. All those in favor? Aye. Again, a review, discuss, and act, Board of Health, board member position appointing process.
This sort of lays out the appointing process. As you know, we continue to have only 2 members on the Board of Health. We're looking for a 3rd member. It just discusses the minimum qualifications and the applications, and how similar to the last time, we will have a joint meeting with the Board of Health for any applicants that come are presented. We're going to looking for permission to post it on the town website under employment and volunteer opportunities.
I'll make a motion that we, what'd you say? You just want it posting? Make a motion that we post.
To accept the appointing process.
Oh, to accept the appointing process that is outlined tonight.
I'll step down as chair in second. All those in favor? Aye. Review, discuss, and act, Board of Health recommendation for town nurse.
So the Board of Health presented us with a letter on July 1st. They went through the candidate, in June they went through the candidate selection process. 2 candidates put their name forward, and that the Board of Health is putting forward Becca Mitchell as the registered, as the public health nurse for the town of Dayton.
Is she here now?
Is she? Oh, and she is with us. There you go.
Hi, Rebecca.
Oh, not yet. Do you have her on?
I can't see her, but.
Well, she's
Second one down?
Yeah. Well, no, go to, you want me to-
Yeah, I mean, she's there, but she's hidden. Yeah, 3 participants.
Can you click her?
She's muted right now.
Ask to unmute. Can you unmute her? Oh, there you go.
She's coming in.
There you go.
Rebecca?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, thank you. How are you? So you want to be the town nurse?
Hi, everyone. Sorry.
That's okay.
Hi.
You want to be our town nurse?
Yes, sorry, my connection's a little bit horrible over here.
Well, we can hear you fine, thank you. Can you hear us all right?
Yes, now I can.
Good. We understand you were interviewed by the Board of Health, and they're recommending that you be the town nurse. That's something you want to do?
Yes, thank you.
Okay,
That would be wonderful, thank you.
great. Well, welcome. I'm assuming you'll get approved here tonight, and I don't know when you'll start, but that's up to the Board of Health and the town administrator. And thank you for having an interest with us. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me, and I apologize, I'm trying to log on to my video, but unfortunately it's not working either.
Oh, that's okay, as long as we have your voice. Nicole, do you have anything you want to add?
No, I'm excited about this. Becca is actually the me in Middleborough, so she took my Middleborough position, and now she's taking my Dayton, and now I'm worried about my school position.
Do you want to be a Board of Selectmen?
You can take that. If you don't have any questions, I'll make a motion.
Sure.
I'll make a motion to approve Becca Mitchell for town nurse.
I'll sit down as chair in second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Well, Rebecca, congratulations and thank you for, like I said, having an interest in our town.
Thank you so much for having me. I look forward to it.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Good night.
Aye. Review, discuss, and act Zoom policy. First reading. What does that mean, first reading?
If, for policies to go into effect, there are 3 readings before it's
Is that
approved.
true?
That has
That's-
been a procedure in the past.
Yeah, but it's not necessary.
Where it
I
gives us
know,
an opportunity to revise.
A former selectman started that policy, but I didn't see it written anywhere. I mean, if you want to continue, I don't have an issue with it, but it's just that if it wants to be revised, we'll have a second reading.
If you have any revisions, we'll read them again.
We have a Zoom policy?
We're introducing the Zoom, a digital media policy, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I think.
I don't have a
given-
copy of it here, though.
Oh,
Remote public participation.
remote public participation.
Oh, it's this, Peter. Do you have this exact?
Oh, yeah, that's it?
Yeah.
Oh,
I printed it
okay.
off too. I thought it was still part of, the resume.
In general, it's, we're looking to keep, as we had discussed in the past, to sort of keep people in, to keep their cameras off,
Right.
until we ask them to come on. If someone doesn't identify themselves, that we have the authority, the host has the authority to remove them, to, ask them to leave, and then if they're disruptive, we could automatically, remove them from the meeting.
Okay. I have no issues with it. If you find it necessary to do multiple readings, I guess we'll give Mark a chance to review it, so we can have a second reading.
I would say, given that Mark was
Yeah.
really intent on this Zoom
Okay.
policy, that it would be appropriate to have at least one more reading
Sure.
for him to go over.
That's fine. Okay, Nicole, is there a motion on the floor?
Just accepting this? What am I doing?
I would say, move
Second reading?
it to the second reading.
I'll make a motion that, we move the Zoom policy reading to a second reading.
Not that I'm not going to step down and second it, but don't we want to accept the policy first, or not?
Not yet.
Not to
I
all
mean-
3 readings.
Yeah, I think you have to go through all. 3
Okay,
readings.
I'll step down as chair in second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Review, discuss, and act, Board of Selectmen goal setting, we're going to table. Is that a motion?
Wanna have some
If I
discussion?
may just have a quick
Sure.
discussion on it?
Yeah.
Just so, as we move forward, just so you have your thoughts on it, to think about. Usually, I think it would be a good idea when we discuss goals to put it in a particular framework. Towns call them different things, but we could call it a long-range plan. The good thing about a long-range plan, it's pretty brief. It's about definitely 5 to 10 pages long. It identifies the town goals over the next 5 years, little goals, big goals, all different types of goals, and it should be reviewed annually. And just so we keep track of it, a lot of towns have it printed in their warrant, so the town can see, what you have decided what the goals are, and it should be based on the selectmen, department heads, but also it's a review of the master plan, the economic development plan, housing production plan, and again the financial management review. So everything in there has things we should do as a town, things we should do to help the town move forward, and then there's individual goals as
Right.
presented by the selectmen.
Okay.
So I think as we move forward, other than just sort of stating them, we should really memorialize them in the long-range plan. So So it's a, right, it's a more professional way of looking at our goals and
Sure.
and moving forward.
Okay. We've done it in the past. We haven't done it at a selectmen's meeting. Previous town administrators, we've met and discussed what the selectmen's goals were individually and for the town. I don't think that we have that anywhere, what the last meeting was, but it's good to start fresh.
Right, yeah, yeah. I mean, we
And the
can
goals
choose how we want
change.
to do it. Right, exactly, yeah, yeah. As I reviewed it, a lot of, right, each selectman sort of brought up a goal. And, one goal, a constant goal was, the library.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Those
So
are-
I think if we take the approach of a long-range plan, it's more holistic. So, the library is in there, like, big things should be in there and little things should be in there. Not that it's a little, but as I brought up, the personnel policy should be in there. Something to bring up, do we want to go from weekly to bi-weekly, for pay?
Yeah.
Things like that we should look at, discuss, address, if we want it to be a goal, and we know, that the school project's coming up and the fire is coming up, large capital items, medium capital items, and again, how do we tackle the budget, and potential shortfalls? So it's something which I envision it should take us a little longer than one meeting, but that's a starting point.
It's a start.
At least we have it, and we'll put it together
Okay.
and move forward.
So let's just have it ongoing. I don't know if it's an item that has to be listed on the agenda every month, every time we meet, but you started with what you think we need as a goal, which is a goal. Okay. This is supposed to be a review, discuss, and act. In addition to what you said, I'd still like to table the process for the selectmen, unless you want to add something, Nicole.
No, because my goal was the library. No, I'd like to make.
Well, achieved.
Yeah, check.
Good job.
I'd like to make a motion that we table the goal setting till can we put it on our next agenda? Is there room to our next meeting?
There is room. I guess we'll see what happens. So I wouldn't want to say that it's going to be the next meeting, but at a future meeting, if that's okay with you?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll step down as chair in second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Approval of the warrants. This is the warrants paid for by July 2nd for 2025. 53A-25 for $138,630.78. 53B-25 for $139,459.44. And 1C-26 for $3,340.
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded, and I'll step down as chair in second. Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Warrants paid by July 10th, 2025. 54A-25, $44,577.58. 54B-25, $108,131.55. 54C-25, $33,576.92. 2A-26, 104, $104,725. 2B-26, $99,450.90, and 2C-26, $163,209.95.
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. There were no acknowledgements. There's no correspondence. We have approval of the minutes for June 25th,
I'll
please.
make a motion to approve the Board of Selectmen's regular meeting minutes of June 25th, 2025.
I'll step down as chair in second. Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Public input. Any more? Sue?
Hi, how you doing?
Good, Sue.
Hey, I just want to know if we have a current vision statement for the town of Dayton.
We used to, whether it's current or not, I don't know. I remember seeing one, this was before I was selectman, so it's going back 4 or 5 years, that,
I just think it would help us to reset
Yeah.
our town to be sure that we have some type of vision statement, and then our goals and objectives would then line up with
right.
vision statement.
Sure, individual boards and committees have them, or some of them do. I remember being on open space, and the first meeting we had was to come up with a mission statement that we took stock of other other committees that had them, and several did. But I don't know, other than seeing one for the town, like I said, this was probably 5 or 6 years ago. I don't think we have one now.
I'll look through the records.
Because I think all the departments should dovetail into
Sure.
the town's
That's a good
mission
idea.
statement. I just maybe think that, it gives us a good foundation as a town, to consider something like that.
Absolutely. Okay.
Thank you, Sue.
Sure,
Just to sort of back up,
Something to think
what
about.
Sue is saying is that's typically part of, I was looking for one, but it's typically part of the long-range plan for the town to articulate. It's both mission statement and vision statement, and everything does flow from that, so.
Sue, when we meet again, we'll have something.
Okay.
Thank
Sounds
you.
great. And there's only one other question. I'm not quite sure if this ends up in old business, but I've been reading all the information that your department is putting out, and I saw a letter from a resident, Gwen Reynolds, and it kind of, made me think a little bit, and I
Gwen
know
Reynolds.
she's from, I think she's from Milk Street. She sent a letter because I guess she's had a career in, streamlining and making sure that efficiencies and
Yeah.
stuff like that. And I know that the town and the community, we're all concerned about efficiencies and making sure that we have the town services that we need and make sure that we're spending our dollars where we need to spend them. And she reached out to the town to see if she could help in any way. And I was wondering if there was any follow-up on that.
I believe so. She was a lady who,
She came to our last meeting.
oh, she came to the last meeting?
Yes.
And we had, at the time,
I
I suggested she
set
go
up
to the finance committee.
I
but-
set up an appointment with her on July 21st.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Is that it, Sue? Anything else you want to
Yes,
talk?
that's it.
Okay.
That's it.
Well, thank you. Thanks for staying with us.
Yes, no problem. Thank you.
Okay.
Good one.
Thank you. Motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Step down as chair in a second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Thank you.